I do too. And I want to talk about how your work relates also to where we are in the world, this kind of totally unique time. And I just want to welcome you to Choose Love Book Club. Thank you so much for coming. I've been looking forward to this for months, and it's finally here.
Nice. I just opened a gallery. I'm like, Zoom. Like, I don't know how to do basic things. I'm like, oh, hi, there's Judy and Maureen and Shreya, as you say, Shreya, Nancy, Erica. Awesome. Hi, guys.
Hey, and hopefully we've got some more people to join us tonight. This is kind of a, in between time, but it's the perfect time to talk about this right before the new year. It's going to give us a leg up on everything. And thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So for those who are just coming on, I know that Pam, you guys were talking about, and Alexis talking about how you guys have been having so much fun with this now.
Fun, big time fun. Yeah, we always kind of take this time in between the holidays to go through our closet. I personally try and always do it like 2 times a year, out the old and with the new kind of situation. But this year I feel like, especially reading the book, it's like more than just like getting rid of some old clothes. It's also just like, oh, well, why am I holding on to this particular thing? Or why does this not serve me anymore? And kind of digging a little deeper, I think is really interesting, especially like going through stuff I had in high school and college. Oh my God, it's been so many years ago for that now. I'm like, why? I mean, you hold on to some memories and everything, but do I need to keep all these clothes or tchotchkes or whatever to still have those good memories? I don't know. It's when it's like, oh, and then it reminds you of those good times, and it's good and it's a good reminder. But at the same time, though, it's like you sometimes feel just bogged down by all of the things in your life. So yeah, no, I think it's super helpful. And I like the soul ego situation, because I think at Choose Love, we know, I mean,
it's a situation, all right.
I'm aware of, having the awareness, I think is so critical. And I think a lot of us at some level, we have that awareness, but reading it and putting into action is very helpful. So I have one question for you kind of on that, when you're writing this book and trying to craft it and have be very clear your intentions of what you want to put out there, what kind of inspired you to first, really say this time to write this book? And I mean, because it's so recent during the pandemic and everything, and what would you maybe change now looking into what we're dealing with right now in the world? So kind of what was that first kind of nugget of inspiration, and what would you change now, knowing the world that we're in today?
Good question. I think, I knew this book kind of wrote me, and maybe 10 years ago, I started pulling together some notes and things from my own journey, because I've had kind of a random life. But I was just putting things together and kind of creating like an outline, I guess, of the book. And then I thought it was really like, oh, this is good. And I had a bunch of chapters, and I sent it to a friend of mine named Susan Casey. She used to be the editor of O Magazine. Some of you might have heard of her, but anyway, and she's an author. And she basically like just trashed it. I mean, not in a bad way, but kind of like, you gotta, just showed me the way, and after that I was like, forget it. I don't care about this dumb book. I'm not doing it. No, not really. But my ego started in, and I felt like it was overwhelming, and how am I going to do it? But one thing she said, which stuck with me, was that writing a book is like laying bricks. You just lay one brick, and the next brick, and the next brick, and eventually you have something beautiful. So that really sustained me going through. And then it just kind of kept forming itself. And another good friend of mine said, you're in collaboration with this book. This book it's moving forward. So you can fight it and kick and scream, or you could just let it take its own timing. So it took a long time, relatively, but it wasn't ready till it was ready. And I stuck true to that. I didn't feel pressure to rush it or anything. I just was like, when something's finished, you're like, okay, let's go. And as far as changing anything, I don't know that I would change anything. I think things are changing in me. I think I'm understanding more about what's in that book, even though I wrote it and understood it then, but I'm understanding it more and more deeply in the current zeitgeist and how things are. It's I always tell people it's a clutter book. It's an ego and soul book masquerading as a clutter book.
Mm-hmm.
So if someone comes to it with clutter, they get more than they bargained for. But if someone comes to it from ego soul, they kind of see the clutter side of it. So maybe there'd be something different in how no, I don't think so. Never mind. I'm taking that back. No, I think it's just what it is. And what's been fun for me is watching people of different ages and different backgrounds and different stories find some connection to it. So that makes me know that it's communicating to the soul in us. It's ageless and timeless. And, yeah. So I don't think I change anything, but I am more clear that we are so thoroughly hypnotized in an ego-based culture. And if we don't figure it out fast, we're in trouble. And yet it's divine timing, of course, how we're going to figure it out. And we are figuring it out. Light's coming into the cracks. So
I love that too, how you said like finding your own personal and energy, your soul energy. It's so hard. I mean, even the other night, Alexis was saying to me, what color is your energy? What color are you? When you asked about your color. And I said, I don't know, I've been pondering that, and I really, appreciated the different ways that you made us think about that rather than saying, how do you feel today? Or, or something. It's like, you really got really deep in this, and making real life stories and making us think, what is our soul energy? Where are we in our minds and our thoughts and kind of like, almost like how, well, as Scarlett says, your thoughts are so powerful and sometimes we just get stuck in them. And this really kind of like brings it out into different ways on what you can do and how you can respond to what how you respond in yourself and how you respond to others. It's just so, it's like incredible on how, you really have an effect on yourself and how you're going through life. And I think this is really a book that everyone should read because it's really gets to their soul. And it's like almost, like figuring out your life philosophy. Where do you want to be? What mark do you want to leave on in the world and then on yourself?
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. It's like, how are you walking? How do you want to walk? And it's a moment by moment thing because, the ego grabs that wheel all the time. So we just have to know that and, kind of roll with it and not freak out about that or try to kill the ego or destroy the ego or, annihilate the ego. People talk about that stuff. I think that's just silly. It's just part of our human condition. We're saddled with these two aspects. So we have to kind of love them both.
Mm-hmm.
And then it makes it easier.
That's
I
kind
see
of a shame.
Maureen nodding her head over there.
I totally agree with that. I think we have to live in harmony. It is our makeup, our personality makeup. Yeah, I agree with you totally there.
Yeah. Well, how do you know it from your own life experience? Like, what's your?
I would say I can be. I would say it is a study, a struggle, compromise. I mean, I know Scarlett and I can be a combination of spiritual and psychological. And I mean, I'm not really sure what your definition of ego is. I read it, but
it's kind of hard to define. I mean, I'm referring it to as kind of like the image that we construct of ourselves, right? Our roles, our needs, our possessions, our beliefs. I mean, it's very vague. It's going to stand up in a court of law or anything, but I, that's kind of the way I'm holding it. It's kind of a little bit of your personality, maybe, would be tied in there. Yeah.
And that's kind of all a reflection of your soul, your personality anyway, would you say? Your soul shines through that.
I think your soul shines through that. I think that's a better way to say it, actually, Maureen. Like there is a personality and we all have different personalities and we all have different ways of being. But I've always been looking for what's deeper than that. When you look in someone's eyes, you can see it. When you listen to singing a piece of music, you can feel it, right? It's just, that's what's compelling to me, is the place where it doesn't matter. Age doesn't matter. Race doesn't matter. Background doesn't matter. Wealthy, poor doesn't matter. There's moments where we connect that way. That to me is the truth. So that's what I'm always looking for. And then, of course, you spend a lot of your time in the opposite of that, right? Fear and judgment and, ambition and striving and panicking because you don't have the right clothes to wear to the event or whatever it is. I mean, it just...
Which is just all part of life too, though.
Yeah.
Deciding what to wear to an event and so on.
Yeah, it is all part of it. But I think we've gotten caught in, creating a giant house with a giant closet full of 50 different things to wear to the thing. And and then we still don't really feel good because inside we feel less than or inadequate or not. You see what I mean? So, and that way we're not wearing our soul clothes.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, you're
Good
right. I
point.
mean, we are in this material world, the material, mundane object world. So we have to be here and live in it. But we have to remember that we're in it, but we're not really of it. And I think that's what's confused right now for people.
Yeah.
I love that. And Scarlett, doesn't that remind you of Wayne Dyer?
Yes.
How he said
We are humans
spiritual-
we're humans having spirits having a
spiritual
human
beings.
experience.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah,
I love
that's
that.
right. Yeah, that's one of the original Sufi guys, Pierre Teilhard de Chardin, said that, and it's really helpful because, I mean, that's a good mantra to have because you can use that. I actually have used that, like if I'm in the grocery store or, yesterday when I was spending a bunch of time with my friend who has dementia and, helping him do some life tasks, and him forgetting every few minutes what we just did, and right. So you're just right here in this world, but it's an illusory world. We're here temporarily, and you guys of all people know about loss and ever connection and the truth of that. Not that you don't forget it many times, I'm sure, as you suffer, but there's also moments when you there's no separation there.
You forget it at times and you allow your ego to take over. But I think it's the tremendous loss like I've had is the best way to learn perspective. Talk about decluttering, especially meeting other people, because, there's none of this. I mean, even when we met, Peggy, it's like, there's just, I find that the real gift is that, my pain. I mean, because it's just out there. And so it's just kind of, there's no, I don't know, superfluous, flowery. It's just kind of like two human beings that are spiritual beings. I don't know, just connecting on a deeper level quicker. Yeah. I feel like, people will line up and tell me things that they haven't told anybody else. That's and because right. I've shared my pain, there's that connection there. And for me, that's been the most tremendous gift. Like almost every conversation that I have is meaningful. Right. And I love that. I love that because, I mean, that's why we're here, to connect with other human beings. Mm-hmm. And so connecting on that level is beautiful. And I started through reading your book, seeing everything else as clutter, that, me trying to make a good impression on you or make you think that I'm smart, or, just kind of putting any sort of false preface, even trying to entertain, or I don't know, anything is just
anything.
Kind of like,
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's right, Scarlett. That's well put. I think you're just being the essence of who you are, because that's what you've been brought to in your experience.
Yeah.
And I think the word is human being, I wrote that in the book. We're human beings. And, and if you just say that even right now to yourself, and not in a la way, I mean, just in a really you just sit differently, you feel differently, your stomach relaxes differently. It's like, oh yeah, I forgot, I forgot.
And here for a little while, we were having a conversation with somebody the other day, and he was an older gentleman. And he was saying, I know that I don't have that much time left on this earth. And I know that I'm here to serve and do good things. you all have more time. And then my younger brother happened to be in the meeting with us, and he looked at him and he said, well, you have even more time. And then my mom said, well, not necessarily. And that was a good reminder too, that life is a journey. I always say it's this beautiful thing that gives us the opportunity to practice our social and emotional skills, tools, and attitudes every single day, all day long. But it's there's also you've got a certain amount of time. You don't know how long that time is. It could be another day. It could be another 20, 30, 40 years. But there is a little bit of, I guess I feel it, a little bit of a need to winnow, is that the word, down to be a little bit more streamlined in order to be the best version of myself, to make those connections and get the message out, do what I'm supposed to do here, do what my purpose is.
Yeah, it's a lot of times people, clutter has to do with fear and terror, right? And there's also a fair bit of shame attached to it. And people feel ashamed if they have too much, or someone's going to see, and they hide it in the cupboards. I've gone to jobs where the person's like, well, guess what? I hid a bunch of stuff because I didn't want you to see it, So there's all this kind of confusion. And I'm not really promoting like minimalist lifestyle or anything. I mean, everything I own fits in my car. Okay, big deal, right? Like, but that's my sweet spot for physical possessions.
Wow.
But I've worked with many people with, 10,000 square foot houses, 3,000 square foot houses. And what I'm promoting more is like, let's really get honest, like, is this stuff you have really contributing to your soul serving its love in the world the way you're supposed to? And if you can be honest with yourself about that, or being honest about how it feels, do you walk into your house and, oh, don't look over at that closet, or feel overwhelmed, or, or just feel like, oh, I'd never go in the guest room because God knows what's in there. That's more what I'm about. So I'm not here to judge how many things people have. I mean, real minimalists, there's some minimalists that live with 100 things or less. I mean, think about that. Shirt 1, earphones 2. I mean, you get to 100 pretty quick. So I think it's about respecting the sweet spot for yourself, and just being honest with yourself about what's really contributing and what's not. And if you can do that, then decluttering is easy, because then it just lets go of you. You don't have to struggle and suffer and drag the stuff down to Goodwill. You're excited about it. You're excited to liberate it and let someone else benefit from it.
Do you think people are still afraid to either let things go? I mean, some of the stories you tell, like you'll say, oh, it was buried way back, or don't open that box, or it's in that box. And do you think the pandemic right now, like when we were quarantining for a while, really made people kind of, some people analyze their lives a little bit more in depth, rather than, because then they're not rushing out. They don't have to be somewhere. They were all at home. So you kind of do a little bit more of work on yourself. Did you find that?
I think so. I think a lot of people had to look at their stuff because we were grounded, we had to, I don't mean grounded in a good way, but we were stopped, right? And to me, that's very grounding. But for the world, it was a little destabilizing, right? Because people are like, well, I'm used to going out and doing this and doing that. And now they're like in a room in their house surrounded by things, and in a video wondering what looks like behind them, and all these kinds of things. So I think through the COVID time, and even continuing now, we're kind of at home with our stuff, and we have to feel into that. And some people have used the time to release a bunch of things, and some people, I think, have hunkered down further and ordered more stuff on Amazon and tried to create safety and comfort and grounding through things. So I think it's different for everybody. Yeah. But there's definitely an emergence of people wanting to release and be more free, and all these systems that are breaking down, people leaving jobs and financial systems. Like, these are all reflective to me of this ego-based, awareness coming in of people like, hey, wait a minute, what am I striving and being ambitious about? What am I putting ahead of more important priorities, or what my soul really wants? Why am I in this job when I want to be an artist? That kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
There's more freedom for that now. That's part of the light coming through the cracks to me.
Mm-hmm.
So.
I also want to make sure that Judy, Erica, and
Yeah.
Nancy, that you guys are able to speak to.
Hi, Judy.
Okay, taking it all in. Good. I'm glad. I know it's a lot. And it is a lot. So there's mental, emotional, energetic, relationship, and physical clutter types. And that to me was so interesting to analyze each one of those and really kind of go through it myself and realize, that I'm enough. And when I have clutter, it's a fear, and it's kind of telling me that I don't think that I'm enough, that I think that I need to surround myself with stuff. And it's just a different way of looking at it. And it's just brilliant. And
thank you, Spirit, for being brilliant and bringing that down through my head.
Yeah.
Peggy, kind of question, or just like a observation too, with working with children. And do you ever think like it's almost like we have to unlearn things that we kind of like start off like, being exploratory and just like kind of experiencing the world and just doing what we want to do. And then, over time we get these roles, we get what's expected of us and the structure of school and, the whole idea of what we were talking earlier about the aura. And I work with little kids, I teach them dance, and we say like, oh, what color is your butterfly? And these kids are like, it's rainbow, it's pink. They're so like creative.
Right away, they just know it.
Like it's 9:00 in the morning on a Saturday. Like I can't even think of anything right now, and it's just what they come up with. It's just so like beautiful, just hearing them just, yelling different colors and just, being in touch with who they are. And it just ceases to amaze me. All these kids of all different levels are just, being themselves and just so like in tune with who they are. But I feel like over time, us adults, we lose all that kind of sense of wonder and sense of self. And I just thinking of you with your work, do you see like kind of like that need to unlearn and to get more in touch with our truest self?
Yeah, I think it's great what you're saying. I think that kids are more tied directly to that intuitive nature, first of all. So you ask them a question and like, well, of course it's rainbow. Like, what else would it be? Whereas an adult might be like, well, I'm not really sure. So there's that intuitive thing, but also they're closer to the soul. They're safe, they're free, they're in motion. They're not worried that they don't have enough. They don't have all these pressures. And so I think we all have that child within, right? That's what we're all coming back to kind of understand that space, that mental, emotional, energetic space of like, oh, I'm safe and I'm free and I can love and I do love. Kids don't decide if they're going to come slip their hand in your hand. They just do it because what else would they do in that moment? It's just more direct. And the other thing too with kids, I've worked with some kids in decluttering jobs, and it's really fun because the parents are the ones that think, oh, he needs all these things and I bought him all these toys. And you know how it is. I mean, my friend has a 2-year-old and the only thing that kid wants is a box to sit in. You throw the ball to her in the box and she rides in the box. It's just about the box. And now you get the 5-year-olds. Now they got rooms full of all these toys and Legos and what do they want? Something really simple too. So I've worked with a lot of kids that way, and they're pretty good if you explain like, this could go to another kid who doesn't have anything, so it's usually the parents that have that burden them a little bit, I think, with too many things, too many choices, too many crayons, too many magic markers, too many Legos, too many, just too many. So
we think that that's love. We think that we're expressing love when they're buying them something, or a lot of times you've got two parents in different households and they want to outdo the other parent. Because I was trying to think when you were talking, I wonder when it starts for a child. The child must learn from the parent that surrounding yourself with stuff is a way to try to protect yourself. And then I have to, because I said this on our podcast too, but it reminds me when we talk about kids that, every year I would go through both boys' rooms with garbage bags, and we would do decluttering. JT's excellent at it. I mean, he does it himself all the time. He's constantly moving stuff out, and he's almost like keeps the stuff that he loves, but it's very minimal, and he's so neat. And I didn't learn that from me, so it doesn't necessarily come from the parent. But Jesse, I would go through his room, and he would never want to get rid of anything. I would say, what about this? You haven't played with this at all. I don't even think you like it. No. I want to keep that. I haven't played with it yet. I'm going to, all that. And then like, a couple
I love that, Scarlett. That's so cute.
I know.
A child after my own heart.
Yeah, picked up from his grandmother. And, and then a couple months before his murder, though, we did another sweep of his room, and this time was completely different. He was saying, just get rid of it. Just, I don't need any of it. And I was like, and I was the one, even the smallest toy. I'm like, but remember when we got this in the McDonald's meal or whatever, and you were so excited. I think that we should keep that. No, just get rid of it. So we ended up taking like 6 big garbage bags, contractor bags, to Goodwill. And then when he died, he didn't have much stuff left in his room. Wow. In fact, and here you go, what he had was just, in these IKEA shelves, the square box kind of shelves, 9 of them, 3 across the top, middle, bottom. And they were just some baskets in there and the stuff there. That's it. That's all he had in his whole room. So he still has that just the way it was. That's me, but, and I'll work through moving through that maybe when I move, but
or not.
I thought that was interesting.
Or not, but that is very interesting.
His spirit knew, and his spirit, when he was getting ready to go, was like, get rid of it. I don't need it. He was saying that I don't need it anymore. And it was like an afterthought. Before it was like, no. And now it was like, he wasn't even looking at what I was showing him. He was like, just get rid of it. Just get rid of it. It was like meaningless. Wow. And it was so amazing.
That's pretty amazing.
So that was really about 2 months before Scarlett.
A couple months. Yeah.
I don't think I've ever heard that before.
Mm-hmm.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
Really amazing.
Yeah. And then, the other thing I was thinking about in today's world, and then relating it to your book and your concept on decluttering, was the news. Just the fine line between, like, we're kind of like living in a Stephen King novel right now, where, you just kind of feel like you need to know what's going on. And we're almost at the point where, like, I sometimes feel like, well, I should know the numbers in Connecticut. I should know the overall numbers in the United States. And then in the world, well, then of course, if you know them there, then you need to know them in the world so that you can compare and see how we're doing. And then, but where do you stop? And when does that negative bias of the news, it gets in the way. I know it does, but what's the cutoff, and how do you manage that clutter? Because that's a lot of clutter, and it does impact your whole day. What's the first thing that you can do now? And it wasn't before. You reach for your phone, you look at the news. That's what I sometimes do that. And I know I'm not supposed to, but it's like an addiction. And
it is like an addiction. It's not like an addiction. It is an addiction. And it's been put forth to us. It's been fed. It's like giving it's giving people a drug. It literally is. It's like a little dopamine hit or a little adrenaline rush. Every time there's, you got to be in the know, you have to get this information, breaking news, that kind of thing. It stimulates the nervous system. So that's the trick, because yes, you might, you want to be informed, you want to know what's going on, but you can feel the energy of it, even the music in the news, right? Bum, bum, it's all designed to keep you activated and in fear.
Yes.
And these things are real and scary too, right? There are scary weather events and COVID and shootings and all kinds of scary things. But there's something about the noise, the level of noise that we're bombarded with.
Mm-hmm.
And some of it is even good noise, right? Like think about like all the podcasts and all the interviews, and there's so much information. And I think you have to feel into your own self. And when you start to feel yourself either drifting away or, now you're on episode 5 and you don't remember watching the first 4 and now it's 12 o'clock at night. It's like you just go away, you go into a trance. So yeah, I think you have to feel for your own energetic tolerance of that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a good way of putting it. And I think I'm getting better at it because I never used to read the newspaper all the time, ever. And now, right? And now you pick up the phone and everything. And now I'll look at something and I'll say, do I really need to listen to this interview? I mean, it's really not that important. It's 10 minutes of my time.
Yeah.
And I'm getting better about just flicking through, but still, I spend a lot of time on the phone.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I do too. I think we all do. We all do too much. And that's part of the design of it. I mean, that's the thing, like I have a lot of compassion for the whole clutter thing and the consumerism and the accumulation. I mean, and or even things like people struggling with weight as an example. I mean, watch the TV for 10 minutes, ad after ad after ad of junk food and feel better this and feel better that. I mean, it's like, it's a miracle to be able to even step out of that slipstream for a minute and go, oh, wait a minute, hold on, wait a second. Right in this second, I'm going to, do something different. Like Maureen, I'm not going to look at this article, or I'm not going to listen to this. It's just, and for me, I'm always encouraging, like for me, I learned a lot from a lot of people along the way in my whole life, of teachers and experiences. But then there was a period where I was like, oh, I got to start listening for my own information more. Right. And so I'm grateful for all that I got. And I'm grateful that now I'm providing information for people as well. Right. So I understand, but also it's like beyond that though, I want people to feel their own information and trust what they know and what their intuition can tell them. And you can't do that with all the noise. You can't get quiet or still enough. And a lot of people are afraid to. They're literally terrified to be still and quiet for 30 minutes.
Yeah, I like that how you did too. You said turn off when you're driving. Don't listen to music. Just listen to the sounds, and that's sometimes what we've been doing too. Especially during holiday time, we have the tree, so we'll turn all the lights off except for the tree lights. Sometimes late at night, and we'll just sit there. Sometimes we'll just talk to each other, or we'll have our dog near us, and you can hear his breathing. And we listen to him. We're like, listen to him breathing. I think he's snoring, and it's just those little sounds that are just not the news noise or the whatever, and you're just kind of drinking in the quietness of that noise, almost like it's almost like a dichotomy, but it's just like you're appreciating the true noises that are around you that you don't always hear. I mean, I love it during the summertime to go out and you listen to the birds, and I think you need more of a greater appreciation for those things. I know that you said in your book too, of like appreciate things more when you're doing them, or not have it be a chore all the time. Like, oh, I got to go out and get the mail at the mailbox, but it's like so cold out. And it's just like, go out and enjoy the chill in the air, or the freshness you feel when you breathe in. And I think that so many of us don't do that anymore. We're just the churning of the work. We're doing work, or we're going on to the next thing, or I got to do this, or I got to go make dinner. And we're not appreciating the beauty that is in our lives that we have, that we just don't really recognize or see all the time.
Yeah, I think the word you used is really an important word. You said drinking in. And I think that's what's happening, we're thirsty, we're thirsty for something real. We're thirsty for peaceful, contented experiences. We're thirsty for things that are deep and real and true. And so even that sound of the dog breathing, it just brings you to that, like, oh, it's like, oh, and you feel that connection. It's a little thing, but it's a big thing because it's representative of the soul, and I think that's super, super important. The other part you're speaking of, Pam, about the appreciation, it's like some of where we don't appreciate is because we're in all this resistance, like, oh, it's raining, it's like, now, like you speaking before, Alexis, a little 5-year-old be like, it's raining, let's go outside.
Go play.
And that's how I tend to be. But it's funny. People, get all kind of like, well, I can't, all these rules and all these fears and all this, and it's just not organic. It's not like the flow. You're resisting what is. I have to get the mail. Oh shit, I got to go out and get the mail. But what if you went out like, I'm going to get the mail. I'm going to make this an adventure. What kind of, what magical thing's going to happen when I go out to get the mail? I mean, I literally think that way when I remember to, and let's go out and find some magic and see what happens, because you got to do it anyway. So it's what state of mind are you going to bring to, as the Buddhists say, chop wood, carry water.
I get to versus I have to.
Yeah.
Right off the bat, making that little change.
Yeah. Or it's happening. So I'm either going to go kicking and screaming, or I'm going to go and make it fun.
Right. You can be like my mom. Every time she turns on the water faucet, she's amazed that there's running water. And
it's a miracle.
It is a miracle. And she feels so grateful because most of the world doesn't have running water, and that she can turn it on and it can be hot. And so, I mean, start from there, just living in amazement, which we should be doing anyway.
Absolutely.
Good point.
Yeah, because that's the state of mind of the soul. The soul is about appreciation, gratitude, connection, seeing the magic of things. It's like, oh, wow. It's a whole different trip if you're coming that way versus, with your ego at the wheel. Life is a completely different trip. And you can experience it every day. You're going to experience both in a day, every day, the ego part, the soul part. So it's fun to just observe. And, I talk about mindfulness, which is such a, buzzword, but I like to think of it as like, sit like an owl in a tree and just watch, just watch your own experience, watch your reaction, watch the other person, become the owl and see what feels better, what affects my energy. What makes me feel better inside? Is this thought helping me? Is this emotion serving me right now? What am I, that kind of thing. It's just awareness, because awareness, then you have the choice.
I used to tell Alexis too, I said, I don't know if someone told me this or so, like always think of if you went along your day, think of it as a video and watching what you did from start to finish. Are you happy with what you've done? Like, look at your life that way each day and then say, oh, I didn't like that I reacted that way, or why did I feel that way? And I said, it's kind of like almost like replaying your days and seeing how you can improve and kind of reflecting on yourself. Because sometimes we don't do that. We just go along our days and, and then try to find peace at the end of the night or so. And I think it's like ongoing during the day and taking breaks. I used to tell Alexis that too, take breaks. And I love how you said it too, take, nature breaks. Even if you can't go out, look out the window, bring in, look at the sunlight or just look at the nature. And I think that's a key way to really get that soul, the feeling of your soul there, because a lot of times we're just in the minutia of each day. It becomes almost like the Groundhog Day. And
it is, yeah.
We're always trying to find different things to do and just to mix it up and to make it, make it happier. We've been through, as you know, a lot of grief and a lot of troubling times, and it's been hard to kind of dig out of there. And so it's been a process too. And a lot of it, what you said is helped a lot.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. Just a moment shift away. Everything's a shift, a moment of, and also you have to have all those feelings and emotions. Like, I lost my dad in March, and this was the first Christmas. And so tracking all that in the family, right? Like, how's my mom doing? My sister, and then I would have my moments maybe randomly, right? You're driving in the car and, oh, where's my dad? I miss my dad. So you want to allow all that. It's not that those human feelings aren't true. You want to, again, it's all about just being with whatever experience is happening, not resisting it, letting it flow through, come up and out. And then it's done. What happens with the clutter is we suppress it, and we push it down. We don't want to feel it. And we think it's wrong to feel it or right to feel, all these things go on. And a little kid, like I have in the book, a little kid they start crying, and then the next minute everything's fine. I think that's how we are designed, to just purely move through things. So we have to, do a little bit of that for ourselves, allow what's happening. Yeah.
One profound,
very good point.
Sorry, I was gonna say one profound line that I highlighted was suffering is resistance to what is.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty powerful because, we all have pain and suffering, we all suffer through times in life, but it's like, what is the concept of suffering? We have pain, we go through bad times, we go through difficulties. Not everything is perfect and rosy, we're all gonna go through problems in our lives. But, if we want to stay there for so long, and it's like, that's the suffering, and like, who's allowing us to stay there? And it's, your ego self. So I think I just really thought that was interesting. So I think we definitely choose love. We talk about that, that you can stay in that suffering or you can leave it. And it's, how are you going to leave it? And what's your soul really want? Your soul doesn't want to be suffering. What's causing that?
Yeah, no, it's an important line. It's any spiritual teacher will say that, right? It's like suffering is resisting what is, and you can think about it in your life, and it's true. No matter the worst suffering, which you guys have experienced as a family and as a collective organization, and then all the different sufferings, but every bit of suffering is resistance to what is. Even a breakup, and when you're like, oh, I can't believe he left me. My niece is going through that now, and she, and I'm with her and taking her through that process. Of course, we've all been there, but everything is resistance to what is, that keeps us locked up. And that's a huge piece of mental clutter, is resistance. So you can watch it, you can watch it in your own self, like the plumber's coming at 9, you just called, he's not coming to 11. Oh, right. And you go into this whole story. I can't believe he's not coming. I have to do this. It's like, oh, what if you just say, okay, I wonder what's going to happen in those 2 hours. That's a minor example, but that's a practice. It's something we can practice with. Some of this stuff isn't highfalutin stuff. It's actually in real life. Your doctor's appointment is late or whatever. It's like, you're going to sit there and suffer about it and stew and get mad, or you're just going to sit quietly and meditate or read a book or call a friend or make some magic with someone else in the waiting room. I mean, there's so many options. Yeah.
It's funny. I said to my chairman the other day, pain is just a part of everyone's life. It's a inevitable thing, but suffering is optional. And he was like, oh my God, did you just make that up? Is that your own saying? I was like, no, I forget, what theologian said that, but it was not me.
Right. Exactly.
Isn't it something with Buddhism too? Isn't it? I'm not sure. I could be.
Yes, probably.
Yeah.
It was probably the Buddha. There you go.
Yeah, it's probably we'll attribute that to the Buddha. Well, these are spiritual truths, so they come around. I mean, they feel right. You resonate with them because they come from someone else's soul speaking the truth. I mean, that's why when you read a quotation, you're like, oh my God, you read a different quotation every day. Like, that's the one. This is the one. Right, so we all have to help each other remember, right? That's what we're here for, to help each other remember who we are and what the truth is. I think. I mean, that's what I'm trying to do with my life,
It's like the things that are passed on, I said the things that are passed on are so important that sometimes we lose those things, like these are the real truths from thousands upon thousands of years ago. And we're all the same human beings as they were years ago, but it's, what's changed, and all this extra noise is not allowing us to get into our truest self and remember these important truths. Sorry.
Yeah, definitely. All the noise and all the focus on the self, the me rather than the we, and social media and the comparing. I mean, that's all ego world. I mean, it's all, and I think it's tough for young people. I mean, I don't know, but it's a lot. Like there's a country song. It says something like, breakups were easier in the 90s, you know. You don't have to like see the whole person's life, and I mean, it's true, right?
Yeah.
But it's this this consume and look a certain way, and all this stuff is so much pressure, and it's all ego driven. It's all illusion. Everybody feels the emptiness of it. That's why all these people are, feeling depressed and extra anxious and suicidal and all this stuff. It's like, oh my God. So we've allowed that kind of superficial material culture to take over the deeper truths. But people are starting to talk more, and, lots of people are sharing soul-based information now in their own ways. So it's exciting. And you're doing it with dancing with kids. That's another way to do it,
I hope that you can talk to high schoolers, because they really need to hear all this.
Middle and high school. Yeah.
Well, I think that's what, yeah. Well, that's what you guys are doing, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
We are. But I mean, it's so different than when I was going to school. It is and it isn't. But I didn't have this. And all the social media and the 24/7 stuff that's being pushed on me. My mind is a forager, and I don't get to do that.
No, it just comes.
Right. Yeah. And as
that's all changing though. There's a lot happening with decentralized things and finances and internets, and there's a lot going to change in that, I think, soon. I just believe that it's going to be different. People are getting sick of the bombardment and the noise, I think. I really do. But we got to work at it and give another option, so people don't know another option. Like, think about it. A lot of people, and you may be one of them, don't even go out at night. Like, you don't go outside at night, right? Because we're hunkered in, we get safe and it's dangerous out at night, or it's like, it's so unnatural that we don't really have access to the rhythms of the whole day into the evening, or our schedules start super early, end really late. Like, all this rhythmic stuff is off kilter in the world, and that's something that people, I think, are feeling. They're feeling agitated by it. They're wanting more of a natural rhythm.
Judy is saying we're living in a time that no one understands what calm looks and sounds like. And
Judy, unmute yourself. Unmute, speak it. There she is. No pressure at all. But yes, say more. You know what you're talking about. Hello.
My fear is, working with children. They're so stimulus all of the time. And I don't know if they're afraid of the stillness and the quiet because they don't know how to live up to all these demands and expectations that society is putting on them. And it's a concern of mine, because how do we bring them back to a more simplified, you are enough, you do matter, everything is significant from the heart. But Scarlett, and all that you do, it's a start, and believe in the process, because it is changing the world. So very much. Yeah.
I love that. Thank you, Judy. And I do believe that and Peggy, you said that we're here to remind each other, and that's what we have to do. I mean, you were saying, well, it's going to change, but I don't, unless you may have some information that we don't have, but I don't see any sort of filter in any way coming forward. I see more of the same. In fact, I even see the metaverse coming down the pike from the Facebook creator, and that is even further getting out of our physical bodies and even less into real life. It's not all bad, but I'm just saying there's some downside to that as well. And I think that it's just so important to, as you say in your book, get into the present moment and get grounded, and be, just so that, kids, Judy, I feel like kids have to learn how to bring themselves back to the present moment and feel calm. Like you said, maybe they don't even know what calm looks like. They don't see it at home. And then they come in and there's kind of a frenetic pace in the classroom of progress, especially now, because they're a year and a half behind, and there's so much catch up to do and so many new protocols, and can't see each other's faces. And I think that for me, sometimes I have to go back to like my set point and come back to baseline and remember kind of what that feels like, so that I know, okay, well, I could, then I feel empowered. Well, I know that I can go from feeling a little bit ungrounded to back to being grounded, and back to where my calm set point is. That's kind of, Judy, why we created the Choosing Love in Our Brave New World. That was it's a series of 4 to 6 lessons, kindergarten through 12th grade, to literally help kids and educators get back to their set point after everything that's going on. I mean, it's a lot. It can be overwhelming.
Yeah. I wish that, like, some of the really simple things that really help with this for all of us, adults as well as kids, it's like, if you could just take 10 minutes a day and be outside or on the ground, if you can be. Like, you get a bunch of little kids and you lay them out on the grass for 10 minutes, they will drop in. They'll squirm at first and be silly, but they'll drop in. They'll feel it right away. And all of us will, because it's just an energetic resonance thing. The earth is a certain vibration, and we come into coherence with that.
It's actually called earthing.
It's called earthing.
Right?
There's a book about it,
it
but
feels great.
And that kind of thing, or just getting kids to just stop, let's just stop and let's be quiet. Like, they want that. They want it, but they get squirmy at first because it's anxiety producing, just like adults. I used to work at a women's camp. I would bring people up for 30 minutes on top of this little mountainy thing in Malibu. And I would just have them sit by themselves for 30 minutes in this beautiful nature scene and just see what happened, kind of thing, have an experience. And many, many people were terrified to even sit there. They would get really anxious. And then invariably that they just stuck it out. I just said to them, just stick it out. I'm right here. They would have some amazing experience. Their dead mother would start talking to them. They would find something in the leaves that represented something, all these mystical kind of things would happen just by getting quiet for that short time. So I think we have to do that for the kids and for each other and for ourselves. It's like, when you do your set point adjustment, Scarlett, it's like everyone else feels that as well. And then you teach them to do that for themselves,
That
because
sounds
you can't swim this tidal wave, this onslaught. You just have to do it differently. And you have to commit in your classroom or with your dancing kids. It's like, lay them on the ground. What about the dance? What about the dance of stillness? Like Judy said, there's a dance of stillness too. There's so much activity in stillness, so much information. So you say it that way, and the kids will, dance is still, they'll get into it.
Yeah.
You're talking to their souls, people understand things.
I like how you said in the book too, they're taking mental timeouts that are really soul time ins. And I think that sometimes we don't give ourselves a timeout. We need to, kind of time out. And hey, we're getting overloaded, or we have to know, like you said, observe our own feelings. And are we getting overloaded? Let's give ourselves a timeout. Yeah. Have a little space to just sit.
Soul to be in charge.
Yeah.
Because there's no space between the notes in our world. And I say this in the book, but it's like a piece of music is beautiful, not because of the notes, but because of the spacing between the notes. So you can look around your house and it's, furniture, your closet, everything is notes. And in terms of like kids in their school day, it's just note. Now we're here, now we're there, getting them ready for school. The whole thing is just note. And so when you feel the agitation of too many notes, or you see your child agitated because of too many notes. It's like, then you got to have a word like a mental timeout, or make a fun word for it. I mean, I had to do it today. I got the 2 plumbers in the house, all this activity. I'm like, going in my room, bye-bye, safe place. bring the activation down, you know. So we have to, no one's going to do that for us. We have to do that and show other people that it's okay, and give permission for some space, some quiet, some stillness, mental timeout, all those things. Yeah.
I liked your suggestion in the 10%, the magic of the 10%, because that made it doable for me, because these are all great concepts, but then when you look around, it's a little overwhelming to implement. But if I think that I only have to start with 10%, I think that that's helpful, especially with my emotional clutter.
Well, with all of it, because it is too overwhelming, and then it feels like there's something wrong, and you have to change a bunch of things, and there's something inherently wrong with you, and that's why you have to do this decluttering. It's like, that's not the point. The point is you're trying to get more honest with yourself. So you experiment. It's all about experiments. I've got 10 shirts. I get rid of 1. Do I feel okay? Does that feel safe, doable? Yeah, great. You know, I took 10% more mental timeouts, or 10% more time laying on the ground, or writing in my journal, or, you know, soul affirming kinds of things. It goes both ways. You know, you can do 10% less of, you know, listening to the news bombard you, or 10% more of listening to your own information through journaling, right? So it goes both directions. And I think that is a very helpful thing. And I use it in decluttering all the time, because you're looking to keep people feeling safe, because clutter is about fear, and the ego mind is about fear. So we have to create safety. And that's what 10% does. It makes it feel doable and safe.
And the other thing, when I started to work at that and do the 10%, then what started to emerge for me was my 6th sense, the sense of intuition. I started feeling that and hearing that and being able to listen to it more when the rest of the clutter was being moved away. Even the thought clutter, when I would have a 6th sense, my gut was trying to tell me something, I'd have lots of stuff then coming on top of it. It was almost like I would release it, and then I would hear it, and then it would be like, no, pile it back on, because you don't need to trust that. What is that? We don't even know what that is. Listen to us.
That's right. Exactly. Oh, it makes complete sense. So we have the external noise, the news, the information, all the bombardment of everything, but we also have the internal noise, and that's even louder. And that is what keeps us from our deeper, quieter voice of intuition, which you're speaking of. So as things get quieter, things emerge. Now, people get scared by that sometimes, because sometimes what emerges is, you know, things they not want to deal with, right? Feelings of grief, or, oh man, I think I really do need to get a divorce, or, you know, the deeper hard things can come up in that quiet, but always you will get your direct information in the quiet, because that's what we're designed for. That's the soul voice. And that's what you got to teach those kids. You know, that's what you want to teach those kids.
Yeah, because there is a spiritual knowing that we all have. And I feel like, not that we would be clairvoyant, but I think we would be more directed. There would be much less noise, if we were more mindful of decluttering. And again, I think of Jesse and his spiritual awareness, his nurturing, healing love. I mean, he was 6 years old. He was able to access that from somewhere within him that knew. And then, you know, that's 6 years old, but then you get older and you are not as connected. And I want to be there. Yeah. I want to be as connected as he was to that inner source of knowing and wisdom. And everything that you laid out in your book is the way to do that.
Well, it's definitely a pathway, and there's, you know, lots of different pathways. So whatever it is for a person that helps them remember, and helps them take, you know, the steps to release what gets in the way of the truth and the remembering. And I think that's what we're here to do. I just do.
I agree. I love that. I just checked the time thinking that it was going to be like 7:20 and it's already 8:00. I don't know how that happened.
I'm here. It's all good.
That's so nice. Well,
did anyone, like Erica, Nancy,
yes.
Shreya, did anyone want to say anything? No pressure at all, by the way.
How about Peggy talking about the title, release? I mean, that's like it's one word, but it's such a powerful word.
I have to give credit to my friend who named the book for me. You may know her. Her name is Monica Lewinsky. I'm sure you've heard of her. If you
really?
Know her, yeah. And she, and I've known her for a lot of years. And anyway, one day she said, you should just call the book Release. And at the time I was going to call it something different. And you know, you kind of like, oh yeah, maybe. And then one day I was like, of course I'm going to call it Release. Like, what else would I call it? So I always credit her for that. It's in the acknowledgments in the back of the book too, but yeah.
Oh, I missed that. That's awesome. And Erica says that ties in right where she's with her faith journey now. Of course it does, Erica, right? Because nothing happens by accident. And the fact that you're here tonight is because you're supposed to be here. And this is information that you're supposed to be getting, but same with all of us. And Peggy, thank you so much.
Wait, I want to just look at these chats real quick. I didn't have these chats. Oh, yay. Faith Journey, Erica. Where's Maureen's painting? Oh, I see it. Okay. Yeah, listen, I mean, thanks for having me and thanks for reading my book. And I mean, I really appreciate it because it's fun. It's fun for me when people, you know, have a nice experience or get something, or, I mean, it's just so, it sounds cheesy, so it's so rewarding, but it really is. Like, it's so nourishing. I love it. My 90-year-old aunt, she was like, this is the book for me. I'm no longer going to be led by my ego, you know? And then like young people like Alexis, it's just very cool to me. So if you know anyone that would benefit from the book, please pass it on, because Pam said it before, you know, I really do feel like I want everyone to read this book in the whole wide world, you know, and not to sell a bunch of books, but because it's like, come on, you guys, we gotta, we gotta remember here. We gotta move the great awakening that's happening. We gotta stay in its flow. So
we agree 100%. And you've got 3 generations on here, and it's totally relevant to all of us. And then also the kids that we're serving, and we will continue to serve. So we definitely will. You're part of the Choose Love Movement family.
Yeah,
we
it's
love
magic.
you.
Oh, that's so great. Thank you guys so much. And if anyone has any questions or any information, you can contact me through my website. There's an email thing on there, or I don't know, just if anything comes up, you know, Erica on your journey or whatever, anybody, I'm around.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Peggy. We'll be in touch.
Okay.
Thank you
sounds
for this. Thanks for the gift.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Bye, Dad. Bye, Alexis.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, Peggy.
Bye, Judy. Bye, Shreya. Bye, Nancy.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, Scarlett.